大家好啊！香港時間朝頭早11:05，今日已經係講緊9月1號啦。咁就美加東岸時間係11:05晚上。
8/3晚上11點。
係啦，8/3啦。咁就今日咧就喺嘉和係咪？呢度係嘉和嘅辦事處啦，喺 Scarborough。其實原來有幾個辦事處嘅。
呢個係我哋 headquarters。
係啦，咁就話隔離就係 Dr. Anna Wong， 就係嘉和個 CEO。咁就今日咧，我哋要多一位客席主持添啦，講下新移民係咪？有位新移民嚟咗喺後邊。
佢唔會同你講嘢。
唔會同。
佢係舊移民，我哋先新移民啫。
舊移民。咁要有個 prop 擺出嚟啦。咁多謝啊。其實今日最主要咧，短10零分鐘啦，未開始之前咧，要講下咧，加東時間，即係星期3 9月1號晚黑7點鐘咧，我哋最後一次嘅多倫多相遇咧，就會喺7點 PM 喺 Dundas Square， 即係咧 Dundas 夾 Yonge 嗰度，咁就7點到8點啦，會有一個直播同埋會有一啲分享，講翻香港嘅話題。香港究竟有啲咩pressing 嘅 issues 咧？我哋會講嘅。咁今日咧已經係第4個直播啦。咁 anyways，Anna 想講下啦。喺9月份咧就加拿大就開通咗之後咧，其實如果你係打咗2個 vaccination 入嚟咧，就唔使隔離，冇 quarantine。咁就我諗都應該咧就要話有好多人咧都係 anticipate 緊呢樣嘢，因為都有啲朋友講緊，哇9月頭咧就會嚟加拿大，無論喺台灣好、英國好都會嚟啊。咁嗱，我住過呢度咧10幾年嘅，其實咁當然咧，我覺得有佢嘅獨特之處啦。美國又有佢嘅獨特之處喎。咁呢度就比較多倫多咧，就係做嘢方面咧就係唔差嘅。溫哥華咧又有佢啲獨特之處，悠閒啲啦嚇。咁Montreal 又有佢嘅特色。咁你都我相信嚟咗有冇20年
？9幾年嚟嘅。
9幾年
有咯，可能唔識計數。
有嚇，都有段時間。對於我嚟講咧，其實我2000年回流咗翻去之後咧，其實我個 working life 咧喺亞洲，特別香港咧就多過喺北美洲添。咁但係咧，依家嚟講個世界咧，因為由於有咗互聯網啦，同埋咧就係話你做如果係金融交易嗰啲咧，其實都邊度都唔係話好大嘅所謂，即係一個人咧可以喺唔同地方出現，都係做緊同一樣嘢都得嘅。甚至即係有啲人做評論嘅，佢可能咧喺香港，而家去咗英國或者喺台灣，甚至美國都係。對於你嚟講咧，加拿大梗係有佢嘅特別之處，你先至會嚟啦。當時90年代係咪？依家會唔會有呢個都係呢個咁嘅諗法咧？
我覺得而家比以前更特別啦。係咪？即係我哋90年代嚟嗰陣時，我好多香港第一或者第2代嘅移民啦，係咪？咁嗰陣時真係好理解到咩叫做 visible minority 呢個 concept，因為當時就大家都係即係見到顏色嘅皮膚嘅，係咪？咁即係可能喺個街裏邊好少聽到唔係英文或者法文嘅嘢。咁而家就個當話加拿大話 one of the most diverse countries of the world， 咁其實 Toronto 亦都係 one of the most diverse cities of the world， 係咪？越嚟越係咁滲啦嚇，咁係一件 diversity 係一件好事嚟嘅嚇。咁同埋佢個 inclusivity 咧，即係以前係淨係識講 diversity， 而家講 inclusivity 嘅意思即係我哋唔係包容嘅意思，我容忍你係咪？但係其實我哋係 celebrate 嘅 differences 啊，即係各人會帶咗自己好嘅嘢嚟。建設一個新社會啦，咁同時亦都我覺得作為社會嘅一份子，亦都有責任咧，去令到唔好嘅嘢係咪棘咗啲舊嘅壞習慣咯？係咪？即係如果你個壞習慣係即係同疫情有關嘅，咁咪係咪搞好個人衞生啊？或者你個壞習慣係同公德心有關嘅，咁啊學識係咪？即係 排隊啊之類嘅嘢，咁大家喺香港呢幾年見唔少啦，係咪？咁即係都希望咧自己作為加拿大嘅公民咧，都盡翻一分力啦。咁即係有好多時有陣時呢啲嘢咧，你即係大大聲聲講 racism 嘅同時咧，亦都可以講下civic responsibility 公民責任，都係一個應該大家都要理解下一個 concept 嚟嘅。咁亦都係因為咁樣咧，所以加拿大先至係一個可愛嘅國家，先至可以喺世界上面永遠都係頭幾位嘅最嚮往、最好住嘅地方之一咯。
係啊，即係講緊 multiculturalism。咁啊，美國啊 melting pot，咁啊大熔爐，咁啊熔到點咧？就好，即係我又喺美國中部住嘅時候，我就覺得好慣嘅，因為覺得自己好投入。喺呢度咧，又有少少覺得咧自己嗰個 heritage 咧又可以一路保留翻。咁啊，特別喺依家直播緊呢個地方啦，即係如果你話好思鄉，食翻啲中國嘢，咁呢度都有晒要有嘅嘢啦，仲幾好添，唔係差嘅。咁至於即係我諗另一樣嘢就係話你揾工啦，就多倫多做啲 technology 嘅嘢咧，其實係第三大即係 high tech 嘅地方 ，after San Jose 同 San Francisco， 第三已經係多倫多㗎啦，即係唔係難揾IT 嘅工或者係 technology 即係科技嘅嘢啊，呢個好明顯啊。咁啊走咗好多年啦，我咁反而咧覺得就係依家啲人離開即係回流個今次咧係都幾 determine， 可能係唔會短時間之內咧翻香港添。咁就真係離開就走更加遠嘅路啊！即係呢次係都幾緊要。咁所以融入翻個主流社會，即係講緊加拿大個主流社會都見到係必須啦，即係唔係淨係圍住個唐人圈子啦。
係啊，即係咁其實大家可能都要諗清楚點解要離開點解要揀加拿大咧？係咪離開可以揀大灣區，可以揀台灣其他地方？咁嚟得加拿大就梗係 admire 佢某種嘅嗰啲core values 啊，係咪？咁所以亦都係因為咁樣咧，應該都要試下融入呢一個文化同埋個社會裏邊咯。我哋唔係叫佢大熔爐，係咪美國嘅大熔爐嘅意思就係你唔講我嗰套，你唔學我嗰套，你就唔可以生存，或者佢會比較硬少少。但係其實而家呢幾年都唔係啦，係咪？即係佢對於拉丁裔文化、黑人文化，其實咧呢10幾年咧都已經係開放咗好多咯。咁加拿大咧就同美國就呢一方面嘅分別仲大啦，係咪？佢哋叫做 melting pot， 我哋叫做 salad bowl， 係咪？即係等於沙律咁啊，好多菜葉掉埋一個搞完之後咧，其實你係冇撈埋到嘅，只不過係有啲醬嘅啫嚇。咁所以即係加拿大同美國最出名嘅 difference 就係咁咯。但係呢一方面都唔係真係個分別大得唔緊要，係只不過可能即係加拿大你會見到更多有色人種，就會更多喺條街度聽到唔同嘅話咯。同埋我哋唔會話即係啲好 explicit 嘅 racism， 即係冇咁覺嘅，即係周街無情俾人用一啲種族性嘅言語鬧你啊，或者肢體上攻擊你啊，唔係冇，但係會少好多。
我記得即係90年代初期啦，咁我嗰陣時就 run 緊有個多元文化電台叫 CHIN， 咁啊每年都有個 Chin Picnic， 依家都應該仲有嘅，即係7月1號嗰幾日。咁啊真係好多元文化，即係個電台本身都咁多個 language， 即係幾十個啦嚇。咁啊當時嚟講，意大利話啦最多啦，跟住第二個 airtime 最多葡國，第三就中文之中嘅廣東話，咁啊依家就分庭抗禮啦，廣東話同埋國語又多咗，國語嘅 speaking 嘅人嚟啦，咁當然都係緊要嘅。咁至於即係依家仲有啲咩好處咧？咁我就因為由於走咗幾個唔同嘅城市啦，咁就溫哥華我覺得真係好好住嘅，即係如果你中意啲天氣，講緊係呢幾個月咋，7、8月份啊，雖然咧都幾熱下，跟住踏入去10月、11月咧，你落雨嘅時候咧，你可能會幾 depress 下。咁反而即係呢度多倫多係咪多少少四季分明？
多倫多四季分明喺24小時裏邊其實都睇到嘅，係咪？即係可能會朝頭早10幾度，去到夜晚黑，即係晏晝中午或者晏晝嘅20零30度，跟住去到夜晚黑嘅 just under 10度都有啦。咁我諗你話講緊溫哥華同埋多倫多嘅分別咧，溫哥華個氣候比較 mild 啲，即係佢嗰個升幅同埋個跌幅嗰個溫度其實都差唔多啦。咁同埋佢嗰個乾燥度冇多倫多乾咁緊要。咁喺香港其實亞熱帶嘅地方嚟嘅人咧，佢哋習慣咗熱起上嚟真係好熱，因為佢濕焗嚇。冬天佢亦都會覺得好凍，因為濕凍嚇。咁但係其實多倫多呢度係一定係凍過香港嘅溫度計，但係咧就係乾啲，所以嗰個凍嗰個感覺冇咁嚴重咯，同埋個室內嗰個暖氣其實即係係法例上規定要有啦，係咪？咁所以即係反而喺溫哥華就會有啲人唔係好適應喎。點解好似唔係好多地方有太多個暖氣或者太多個冷氣喎？因為佢哋本身佢哋嗰個恆溫嗰個天氣本身就係好啲咯，即係佢冇中間嗰個跌幅咁多或者係升幅咁多。除
咗就係呢度咧會乾少少，即係我諗男士女士咧都要搽多啲 moisturizer。先至掂，中部會更加差添。即係我曾經
草原省份
係啦，中部 Winnipeg 我又住過㗎。咁最近去完 Calgary， 真係你啲皮膚咧就係乾好多嘅。咁啲人就可能去啲 drug mart 度買啲補個面膜咧，就呢個女士一定會做嘅嘢。咁不如咧就呢一集咧就講到呢度啦，好嘛？咁亦都希望咧大家即係支持我哋個頻道啦。如果你可以嘅話咧，咁就可以 support 我哋個 Patreon， 令到我哋咧就更加遠嘅路。Well, this is a new episode, and today I'm at Gawa CFSO.
Correct.
Yeah, and we have the CEO, Dr. Anna Wong, together.
Hello.
With Ninja Turtle.
Leonardo.
I thought it's Pepe, cousin of Pepe, but they all look the same, greenish color.
Right.
Yeah. So welcome, watching this Etchin Life. We're gonna compare, not really comparing, but talk about the distinguished features of living in Canada. And there are a few different provinces. There are pros and cons living in, let's say, the West Coast versus East Coast, and in the Prairie region. And some people do live in
the Maritimes,
Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia, of sorts, right? And I like Toronto, first of all. I spent quite a few years in Toronto. That's when I started my career in finance and subsequently in financial radio broadcasting. And I always love visiting this place. And Anna, I think you came over here many years ago as well.
Right. I came for my university, so that's in the 90s, late 90s.
Yeah.
And, well, I haven't been to Vancouver, but I've been to the Maritime provinces and, like you said, Calgary, right? If you're just strictly talking about weather differences, obviously, we would know that the West Coast is a lot milder in terms of temperature, right? Yeah. So the humidity is sort of, closer to the living standard in Hong Kong, where it's, less dry, right? And the temperature range or the variation within the day is actually it's more tolerable than what it is here in Toronto, right? But after a while, you get used to it, right? And then I still remember every time. Well, I don't go to Hong Kong a lot anymore, and I don't even use the word I go back to Hong Kong anymore because it's not the same city as I was born in. I don't see that it's the same place. No. So if I visit Hong Kong, I go to Hong Kong. I'll go back there. But when I do go there, upon touchdown, you already feel the mugginess in the air, right? You're
pretty humid.
It hits you like a blow in your face, right? So it's hot and humid and all that. And Toronto, temperature-wise, we can get to that range as well, but because we're drier, it doesn't hit us like that much. So, while heat is a mandatory requirement by law because it's a matter of safety, air conditioning is not. But then, I would say 80% of the places in Toronto are air conditioned.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Right. Versus some Vancouver's areas, they were so. And then this past summer, there were a few hot days.
Yeah, heat wave. A lot of people died in BC.
Right. So they weren't really equipped to handle that because they are not properly air conditioned because they don't get such weather very frequently, if at all, right?
Yeah. And in the prairie regions, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, it gets so dry. Yeah. You need a lot of moisturizer.
Right. And versus the Maritimes, right? It gets really windy and stormy, and you know, one shovel of snow could be taller than you and I added together. All of that, right? So, you know, you talk about extreme weather when we say here in Toronto, oh my God, we got dumped on last night. Really, people in the Maritimes would laugh at us. It's very different stories to tell,
But one person that I recently get acquainted with told me that Halifax, actually, the weather is not that bad. And it's comparable to Vancouver. So it's a myth.
Really?
It doesn't snow as much as most people think.
Good to know.
Unlike Newfoundland and like PEI. So I don't know whether it's true or not, but I look forward to visiting Halifax, to be honest with you, because there are a lot of,
it's seafood country.
Yeah,
certainly.
Seafood, lobster, country.
Seafood country.
Yeah.
Well, I'm into wine country, so Niagara-on-the-Lake is not that far away from where we live, so that's
Jim says it's put the mic closer.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe I talk loud enough, so I don't need the mic. So Anna, maybe you need to hold this. That's okay. Jim is from Lantau. Yeah.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah, Jim plays the guitar very well. It's favorite song. It's "Glory to Hong Kong."
So it's
in Cantonese. So thank you, Jim, for being persistent to play that song in times like these, especially.
We need the spiritual support and Wailo, right? Collegial spirit.
Yes. So anyways, the Maritimes, it's a myth. People think that Halifax actually is cold, lots of snow, but it's not quite true. So I'm going to find it out myself, probably within the next 3 months or so, if I have the opportunity to go for a visit. But most people think that sometimes Manitoba, Winnipeg, you cannot survive because of the harsh winter. But I survived. I stayed there for like 3-4 years. But I got trained in Minnesota. Minneapolis is even worse, though. From some place that's even worse to some place that's not as worse. So.
Well, there's certainly lots to explore in just Canada itself, right? Not to mention North America. So if you decided to embark on a new life journey, away from your place of birth, right, for a permanent or semi-permanent basis, I encourage everyone to be receptive, right, to new social norms and cultures, and talk about, be receptive and aware of the local cultural norms there, carry out your civic responsibilities, whether it is about personal hygiene or, social order or, exercising your rights and advocating for your rights or, contributing back to the community. These are all very Canadian things to do, right? So now that we have a chance, right, to be in Canada, like Ed, you said earlier, this is one of the most admired places on earth by survey. Right?
Most livable city.
Right. So a couple of years in a row already by now, right? Yeah. So I think that's, it's from a perspective of law, granting permanent residency or citizenship is not a right. It is a privilege, right?
Indeed.
Right.
Indeed.
So if you are fortunate enough to be granted such privilege, then we should all be abide by local laws, right? Be receptive to cultural norms and, be good citizen and all of that. Just think back as to, why you decided to leave. There were certain things that you did not admire. And let's not make that history repeat here. Certainly, let's not be part of the problem ourselves in the new society, right?
Yeah. And I guess a lot of people take refuge in the new place, lifeboat in the UK, Canada, these two countries, definitely. With the extreme makeover in Hong Kong, I guess lots of people are leaving. And for Canada, it seems like in September, there could be an influx of visitors from Taiwan or UK coming here, whether they stay permanently or have the intention to be staying for a longer term, and then change to like a PR status, permanent residency. Yeah.
As to why that happens, right? So, the BNO or the HKSAR passports allow one to just leave and just stay, in a place like UK or Australia, without visa for a limited amount of time, right? But to stay, having legal status to work and to stay for an extended period of time is not a taken for granted type thing. Versus, the Canadian Hong Kong pathway policy makes it a lot easier for someone to just, land as a permanent or a temporary resident, whether you're on study permit to come as an international student or you're on work permit to come as a foreign worker, but then to upgrade your status from that into permanent residency, after meeting certain requirements. The Canada-Hong Kong pathway has made it much more possible for these people.
And you can still work while you are studying. Right?
Work while you're studying for a limited amount of hours per week.
Right. Yeah.
And then if you are...
Up to 20, right?
Up to 20 if you only have a study permit. And if you have a work permit, the hours that you worked would count towards your... permanent residency application, right? And with that, basically, you can enter and exit Canada while you also are should abide by local laws and all of that. So, paying taxes and filing taxes and all of that. Let's just, what I want to stress is I'm Canadian, obviously. I'm a taxpayer. My agency thrives on taxpayer money because it's government funded, right? So, we exist because there is a need in a community. And we also exist because the community contributed to, tax dollars and all that. So just, Hong Kongers, we've been through so much. We've seen, the good and bad of the side of immigration, right? We've seen, foreign visitors. There are habits that you prefer and there are habits that you don't. So, once you have the privilege for, permanent residency or citizenship in a country that is, so highly regarded in the world, let's just, cherish the opportunity and do our part in terms of, performing exercising our rights and performing civic responsibilities, abiding by social norms and all of that. Be an active contributor to society, right? Just show we can do better. We're not always just victims of racial actions or speech, right? We can do better. We are active, proactive, we are vocal, we can do things in society. Well, let's tell them what we can do, but show the world what we can do as Hong Kongers, right?
Canada is very inclusive and also respect multiculturalism.
Right.
At the same time, I guess a lot of people who have been here long enough, they do assimilate into the so-called mainstream culture, which is being Canadian. Which is quite.
And that's not to say, well, 淨係講英文, right? You're only allowed to speak English or parler français seulement and forget all of your Chinese. That's not asking you to do that, right? They want all of those to be part of the Canadian culture. That's your contribution as a citizen or a resident, right?
Yeah. So I guess we should appreciate what the Canadian government has done, especially the lifeboat policy over the past few months.
Right.
And a lot of people can take advantage of that before they close the gate, so to speak, right?
Right. And with the election looming, we're not so sure where this would go.
Yeah.
Right. And then the election happens Canadian time,
in
September
20th. 20 days.
In 20 days. So, those who have the wherewithal, please submit your applications if you are interested. Please submit your Hong Kong Pathway applications ASAP. And those who are interested but are not qualified for now, please try to make sure you take the steps to make yourself eligible for such a great opportunity. I don't think in the history of Canadian times there has been a policy this lenient, in fact, right? And it's not an economic, it's not a refugee class, it's not an investment class, it's sheer economic and workforce type immigration policy. And I believe, as a social service provider here in Canada, it is actually a very bang on, targeted, timely policy. This is the time when, post-pandemic, when our economy is so sinking, there are jobs that can't be filled. There are people who don't have jobs. And, basically there's a talent and vacancy mismatch, right? And then our workforce is aging and therefore there's not enough people paying taxes, right? So this is not, I just want a suitcase of cash from you and then I grant you the passport. It's none of those nonsense, right? I want you to be, Canadian government actually wants people to contribute their work hours and talents to the economy. And then every 2 weeks when they collect their paycheck, we also collect income tax. So this is about, your consistent personal contribution to society and the tax system. So if you're not interested in working or studying or paying taxes here, that's probably not the right policy for you.
So contribution is the key word.
Yes, cannot stress enough.
Yeah.
Right.
And thank you. I hope Mr. Ninja can find the right job at the right time.
He's my supervisor.
At the right profits.
Yes.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Night. Bye.